Well, here we are again,
Celebrating another holiday.
another great holiday. And this one you probably don't even really know is happening because it's not a national holiday or anything. And but it's an important holiday nevertheless because we're celebrating the life of an important person.
Yes, it's Susan B. Anthony Day. Have you ever heard of Susan B. Anthony? Well, she was a great reformer. She was into voting rights for women and suffrage for women, and for equality and justice.
Temperance movement,
A wonderful person.
abolitionist,
Everything like that.
tireless worker,
Tireless.
devoted her whole life to these things.
And she was born in 1820 in Massachusetts, and she lived until 1906. She dedicated her life to all this good work to bring democracy and freedom to the people of the United States and possibly the whole world, and especially to work with women.
Yeah, she was. She spent most of her life in Rochester, New York.
Mm-hmm.
She organized conventions. She organized politically, and she just did so much conventions and all kinds of things
Well,
in Rochester.
This is the thing. She grew up in a home that was very good for leading her into all this work of reform. It was a Quaker home. The Quakers were part of the radical revolution of Christianity in the 1600s, around 1650. And they were very strong on equal rights for men and women. They were very strong on equality for all people. They were strong on love and nonviolence. And they provided an active home, a home very intense in bringing about reform and renewal for justice and peace. So she grew up in this home, and they even had persons coming to the home, such as Frederick Douglass, who was about her same age. So you can see she was brought up in a way that supported her vision of what the way the world should be. They believed in this home, they believed in equality of men and women and all people, including blacks. They were against slavery, and they believed that in equal rights. The Quakers were persons who encouraged women to preach, so that it was a very positive experience that she had growing up.
They were women pastors.
There were women pastors starting from the
leaders.
beginning. Yes.
So she grew up in all that, and she thought she was just as good as any man.
As anyone, yeah.
She didn't know there was any difference.
Right.
And as she got out of the world and found out there were people that didn't think that,
Yeah.
it became her mission to help change the world.
Change the world, exactly. Well,
So today, I am dressed up
yes.
as Susan B. Anthony.
Well, welcome, Susan B. Anthony.
And John is not a particular person, he's just a man of that time
Yeah.
who's going to be sharing facts about Susan B. Anthony. But I will be sharing quotes. So I'm going to set up as though I'm giving a speech because she gave many speeches
Yes,
in
she
her
did.
lifetime. And I've picked out some quotes that relate to the facts that John is going to present. Okay? So now I'm going to switch here
All right.
and get my podium, such as it is.
All right.
Okay?
Yes, from her background, first thing she did, as far as career-wise, was to become a teacher, because that's what the society opened up for women at that time, that they could all become teachers. But as she got into teaching, she realized there were political implications, and that she advocated equal time of work, 8 hours a day, and equal pay for equal work. And this was a big step, even in that first position that she took.
I do not demand equal pay for any woman, save those who do equal work in value. Scorn me to be coddled by your employers. Make them understand that you are in their service as workers, not women. Join the union, girls, and together say equal pay for equal work.
Now, at the same time she was a teacher and doing this aggressive effort to get equal pay, she was concerned about temperance. Temperance because she wanted to stop what was abuse of men drinking and then beating their wives. So she joined the Daughters of Temperance at age 28 and delivered her first speech to this group. Well, she experienced discrimination against her as a woman taking a lead and giving speeches. So this turned her then to the women's movement, or the effort to liberate women so that the society would listen to them just as much as to men.
No one can doubt that the sufferings of this sober, virtuous woman in legal subjugation to the mastership of a drunken, immoral husband and father over herself and her children, not only from the physical abuse, but from the spiritual shame and humiliation, must be such as man himself cannot possibly comprehend.
Now, all this time, there was still another simmering issue that she was addressing starting with the age of 16. And this was the issue of slavery. At 21, she organized an anti-slavery convention in her hometown. At the age of 30, she began to work with the American Anti-Slavery Society. That was 5 years before the Civil War. She was part of the Underground Railroad. She organized anti-slavery meetings throughout New York. And during the Civil War, her speeches were often resulted in angry crowds. Again, the issue of women being able to speak up and not be put down. So that one time, I mean, things got so bad she was hung in effigy.
Let us open to the colored man all our schools. Let us admit him into all our mechanic shops, stores, offices, and lucrative business avocation. Let him rent such a pew in the church and occupy that seat in a theater. Extend to him all the rights of citizenship. It is a hard fate that lies before the colored people of this nation, who are especially gifted, and yet the only way to save the race question is to educate both races. The blacks to be equal in their opportunities, and the whites to be willing to share their privileges.
Now, in all of this, she was working very hard, again, to deal with women's rights. And one of the very important meetings that she had, or friendship she developed, was with Elizabeth Cady Stanton. They met in 1851 and were close friends throughout all their lives. Elizabeth was married, had 7 children, but Alcott stayed single so that she could single-heartedly pursue all her concerns to bring freedom to the society. And as a person introduced to this, the two of them, the first one, Elizabeth, was the visionary, and Anthony was the organizer. And in 1866, they founded the American Equal Rights Association, which campaigned for equal rights for both women and African Americans. In 1868, they published the magazine The Revolution. on women's rights.
I declare to you that woman must not depend upon the protection of a man, but must be taught to protect herself. And there I take my stand.
She took her stand all right, and she fought. I don't know if anybody knew this, but women who were married did not have any property rights. So at age 34, she circulated a petition to improve married women's property right law in New York. She carried an alligator purse, see, just like this, and this was a symbol of the woman's right to own property. She also dressed with a red cape, but we don't know that that had any political implications.
A woman must have a purse of her own. And how can this be so long as the wife is denied the right to her individual and joint earnings? Reflections like these caused me to see and really feel that there was no true freedom for woman without the possession of all her property rights.
So Susan B. Anthony became a leader of the women's suffrage movement. She was upset that the black man received his vote without any consideration with the woman receiving his votes, either white or black or any other. And at the same time, at 49, she was involved with the National Women's Suffrage Convention.
Suffrage is a pivotal right. No man is good enough to govern any woman without her consent. There never will be complete equality until women themselves help to make the laws and affect lawmakers. Women, we might as well be dogs baying at the moon as petitioners without the right to vote. The true republic, men, their rights, and nothing more. And women, their rights, and nothing less.
Very forceful in her words. Well, she actually exercised the right to vote and was arrested because it was against the law where she voted. Although women did not have the right to the vote, Susan and 15 other suffragettes voted in an election in 1872. 2 weeks later, she was arrested and put on trial in a packed courtroom. You can imagine. An issue of voting rights still an issue, you know. And the judge instructed the jury to find her guilty, robbing her of the right even of a fair trial or a proper defense. She was found guilty and fined $100. She never served a day. She never paid the fine. That's Susan B. Anthony for you.
It was we, the people, not we, the white male citizen, nor yet we, the male citizen, but we, the whole people, who formed the Union. The only question left to be settled now is, are women persons? And I hardly believe that any of our opponents will have the hardihood to say that they are not. Being persons, then, women are citizens, and no state has a right to make any new law or enforce any old law that shall abridge their privileges or immunities. The only chance for women to have for justice in this country is to violate the law, as I have done and as I shall continue to do.
Yes, that's Susan B. Anthony. She persisted. In 1860, she began to make annual petitions to the Congress for women's suffrage. Although many thought she was a joke, she continued working on this until 1906, the year of her death. And she helped create the first draft of the 19th Amendment that gave women the right to vote. the amendment was named Susan B. Anthony Bill. The amendment was finally passed in 1920, 14 years after her death.
To think that I have had more than 60 years of hard struggle for a little liberty and then die without it seems so cruel. I hope the 20th century will see the triumph of our cause. Failure is impossible. There shall never be another season of silence until women have the same rights men have on this green earth.
Well, she had many unconventional views, including on marriage. And she was actually accused of trying to destroy the institution of marriage.
Marriage to women as to men must be a luxury, not a necessity, an incident of life, not all of it. The woman who will not be ruled must live without marriage. I think the girl who is able to earn her own living and pay her own way should be as happy as anybody on earth. The sense of independence and security is very sweet.
Well, she believed that the church was a sexist institution. She had grown up in the Quaker household where women were preachers, but in the other denominations they were banned from the pulpit and from speaking. So this was her view on that.
I distrust those people who know so well what God wants them to do, because I always notice it coincides with their own desires. The religious persecution of the ages has been done under what was claimed to be the command of God. The worst enemy women have is the pulpit. My prayer is to lift women to equality with men.
So her religion was based on social justice and hard work. She gave 75 to 100 speeches each year for decades. She traveled extensively to promote her agenda.
Work and worship are one with me. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Think your best thoughts. Speak your best words. Work at your best works, looking to your own conscience for approval. I pray every single moment of my life, not on my knees, but with my work.
Well, over the years, we've come to honor her and recognize her for her work. And she was honored in 1979 with a United States coin. President Jimmy Carter signed the Susan B. Anthony Dollar Act. It was the first coin to carry the image of a woman. The coin circulated for over 21 years. Ooh, there it is. And this is one that was minted in 1979. And it was replaced later, but this was in honor and a recognition, and may there be more of our coins or everything giving honor to the significant women like Susan B. Anthony.
Well, this is rather different from the receptions I used to get 50 years ago. They threw things at me then, but they were not roses. The day may be approaching when the whole world will recognize women as the equal of man.
So, as I was saying, At this point, there's no federal holiday honoring women. One was introduced in 2011 but failed, but there are 6 states that have holidays for Susan B. Anthony. It is not a holiday in Illinois, but let's think of the time when it will be a holiday.
So hopefully they'll just keep working on that. But every time we go to the voting booth, we as women or people of color, they need to give a thought.
Give
Give
thought
a little
about it,
thanks to Susan B. Anthony for all her hard work.
right?
Her and all the other women that were working on these issues. But particularly to her, because
To
she
her.
was very important in the women's rights movement and the voting for all people.
So join with us. Happy Susan B. Anthony Day.